Martin, it's me, your agent. You're the biggest comedian in the 90s, and you talk about profane subjects on stage, like rim jobs and meth and all the cocaine you do. And they want to do a children's show with you, Martin.
With me? Brilliant. I'll write it, I'll voice it, I'll do the music.
That's really not necessary. In fact, we're just going to use a soundboard of you. I
I
have like
said I'll write it, I'll voice it, I'll do the music.
all right, yeah, we just gotta clean up your material a bit for it. You can't talk about I don't know what a you can't talk about fucking getting AIDS from the toilet.
Wonderful.
I swear that's not just on my mind. We also just watched the Captain Planet AIDS episode.
We did. We're not talking about AIDS yet though. We're talking about celebrity endorsed, voiced, written cartoons.
A little column A, a little column B.
Well, how does one describe the the selection of three celebrity cartoons that we watched? Where did they come
Oh,
from? Where did they go? Where did they come from? Answer
you got
me.
something?
No, I didn't.
Well, it was pretty big around the early '90s, maybe late '80s that these were all happening. It was pretty big to get a celebrity endorsement, especially from comedians. We previously did Camp Candy, which was like maybe the most average thing we ever watched.
Yeah,
Um,
certainly the most inoffensive, but also
yeah.
one of the most bland.
So we decided to dive into like because we found there's like a treasure trove of them. We cover three of pretty different flavor, I feel like, and I think that's why we did a good selection. Like within the running, but just not quite as available, include Sea Bear and Jamal, which is who was that? That was the Tone Lock cartoon. He was a bear. Um,
Interesting. Okay.
he's a teddy bear voiced by Tone Lock. Bobby's World was in the running, but I feel one that's almost a little too popular to be interesting to discuss, and B, Howie Mandel wasn't a household name for you as he was for me. So
Oh yeah, I didn't know who he was, did I?
yeah, that surprised me a bit. But regardless, we wound up settling on Rick Moranis's Gravedale High, Hammerman, starring MC Hammer, and Life with Louie of Louie Anderson fame. Which one should we start with?
Let's start with the which. Let's start with the worst one. Which which in your
Which
view
is
was the
one,
worst one?
two, three,
Hammerman.
Hammerman.
Hammer man, hammer. Whenever there's a crime, some crooks are gonna do time. They all better beware, cause the hammer man will be there.
What a massive pile of shit.
I distinctly, when Black Panther, the movie was coming out, and everyone was excited because it was a movie with a black superhero. There was like this Twitter post I saw that was like, "You say black superhero like it's a new thing," and they go through a few black superheroes, but it's like Static, Black Lightning, so on. It's like you're kind of missing the point that the idea is that this is a massive movie. Like there's never been one of this scope. And among the black superheroes they showed was Hammerman. And I'm like, I think you're kind of proving the point
Oh
that they
no.
weren't all that prominent, actually, if
It's
we have
so
to dive to the bottom of the barrel of Hammerman.
it's it's so weird that someone would think, let's make a cartoon about MC Hammer. I guess he
I don't,
was big at the time, but it's inexplicable to me that someone would make the connection and go, let's make a cartoon about him. There are surely more popular figures you could have chosen at that time who would be more suited to something like this. Um,
yeah. And there was just I think a fact like we didn't follow the sagas of celebrities on Twitter every day back then.
mm.
So I wonder if there was just a lack of overexposure and a fascination with talent that we didn't fully have a handle on. That played into shows like these. Like it was still kind of mystifying that someone like MC Hammer had whatever level of talent and fame, and you want to attribute that to magic shoes or something.
I attribute it to the one song of his that I know. um, Interestingly,
One
this
song of his anybody knows, I feel
yes.
like.
Did he have a second song? Is there another one?
I'm sure. Well, I'm sure he has other songs, but that was his big. He was kind of a one-hit wonder with that in mind.
I guess he was a memorable figure, I suppose, with his big pants and his
Yeah,
supposedly superhuman shoes.
something of a pop culture phenomenon.
I guess so. Yeah, he was. Was he in anything else? Was he in any movies or anything?
I'm not super familiar with his pop culture thumbprint. I'm kind of under the impression that he just kind of came and went. This show is not long lived. I feel like it's only like
It is one
13
season.
episodes.
I
Let
I
me see how
noticed
many.
this
Yeah,
came
13
out.
episodes is all it lasted.
Yeah, I mean this came out in 1991. Guess what happened to MC Hammer in 1992? He didn't
What?
kill anyone. This isn't a trap. It's
um, was he in some bizarre movie that like destroyed his career?
He wasn't, but he did have a $16 million lawsuit from a Christian church who accused him of
What?
stealing one of their songs. The case was later settled out of court.
Huh.
He then filed
I
for
mean,
bankruptcy in like 2011, I think.
mm,
um,
I I was gonna say maybe that explains why the cartoon went down, but I don't think that does enough damage to somebody to
I wouldn't have thought
getting
so.
sued
No.
by the
It's
church. I don't-
it's probably just because the cartoon was awful and not because of MC Hammer's
Yeah.
questionable copyright incidences. um,
I mean, with someone as like as charismatic as MC Hammer, they didn't. Even the theme song just kind of sucks. It's kind of the same three notes over and over.
Oh my god, the theme song. I have never seen so much
He put on the
exposition.
magic shoes. He became the Hammer Man. He goes to save the day. It's that over and fucking
His
over.
granddad was getting too old, so he gave him the shoes and he put on the shoes and and it goes on forever. It spans about 30 years of backstory. And it's condensed into I was going to say a rap, but it ain't a rap. It's barely a song. I don't know if someone else wrote this on his behalf because I feel like MC Hammer would have written something a bit more catchy than this.
Oh, absolutely. Well, was there? Maybe it's because I tuned out at certain chunks of the episode, but there wasn't like a song break in this, was there?
He kind of sometimes bursts into song, but he
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
do a
he kind
full
of
song.
he speaks in rhyme. He kind of raps.
That's about it. Yeah, you can hear it's hammer, not it's hammer time. What's the song called? It is called It's Hammer Time,
Can't
isn't
touch
it?
this.
Can't touch this. That's what I'm thinking
No, no,
of.
no, no,
Who
no,
knows?
no. Yeah,
You can hear Can't Touch This as background incidental music. And
right.
if you listen carefully, it's like do 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 when he's just doing stuff around the house.
That's kind of cute. Yeah. The arts. I guess this show. The art style is at least kind of distinct. I don't have a problem with the way the hyper angular way the characters are drawn. I think it actually kind of cuts a distinct impression that suits the show, but the execution is kind of all over the place and bad.
Did you notice that they only animate the mouths of the characters? Like
No,
it's
not quite, but I mean, but now that you mention it, I'm kind of looking back and being like, oh yeah, kinda.
like they'll like do a static shot and no one will be blinking or moving at all, but the mouths will just be going about 100 miles an hour. And I feel like that was a massive budget saving technique. It
Oh,
is
really?
Deke, so you know.
Our good friends at Deke.
Yep.
It kind of makes me think of like those old cartoons where it's like the still drawings in somebody's mouth just like superimposed. Like,
Yeah, basically that was what it reminded me of. I noticed the mouths were like do you know when you can tell in a bit of animation where something has been animated to move and something is the background?
oh
I,
yeah.
I noticed that with their mouths on this. They're like they're much more distinct than the rest of their bodies. It doesn't
Um,
look terrible though, I guess.
yeah, I guess I was more distracted by how the show uses the show came first, but I know the sound effect is the Powerpuff Girls flying sound effect, the I can't even do it with the beep,
Yeah.
and it uses it ad nauseum. Like it comes up when he transforms, and then later I think he has like his super shoelaces he's using to reassemble a bridge, and the whole for a span of like 5 minutes while he's doing this, the whole time the shoelaces are just going pee for like
Well,
just an insane, irritating amount of time.
I for one could not figure out what his powers were. I don't understand what his superpowers actually were. He has
No,
two talking shoes, and he has a transformation where he suddenly is dressed in a slightly cooler way.
it's not a disguise. He wears
It's
those
not, yeah,
glasses anyway.
yeah.
So
It's a change of outfit for him.
yeah.
He dresses pretty distinctly, so
I guess
it's.
is it clear that his identity is a secret? Like,
I think so. Yes.
so he in no way changes his face, so there's no reason
No.
people wouldn't recognize him.
No. It's inexplicable.
Golly.
Let's move on. So.
Yeah.
I've got to be swift, suave, and smooth, because that's how I feel. Because safety's a must, and that's on the real. This time I'm maxed relaxed as I did the task. So this time repairs should definitely last.
Come on, Stanley. Don't mope.
Don't you want to see your brother's gadget at the convention center?
Why bother?
Should we go for what was the Louis Anderson one called?
Life with Louis.
Life with Louis. I've just written down Louis.
Louis. This one's probably most timely because Louis Anderson just passed away.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't. Was he ever like a household? I feel like I was kind of a generation after he was like a big comedian who would have a TV show. Are you that familiar with his work?
Not so much. No, my only
No.
Louis Anderson exposure is a cutaway joke on Family Guy, where I can't remember what the context of the joke was, but I just remember a guy turning around going, "I'm Louis Anderson," really annoyed. But I can't remember what the setup
That's
to the gag was.
when Peter is looking for a mobster under the alias Big Fat Polly.
Of course.
He goes,
yes.
"Are you Big Fat Polly?" And he just turns around and hits him in the face. I'm Louis Anderson.
That's all I know about Louis Anderson. I can't remember anything else I've really seen that he's appeared in.
I'm sure he's like showed up here and there. Maybe just like he seems like kind of that guy.
He must
a
have
very
been
dis-
like. I'm sure he must have done other voices in animation at some point that I've probably seen.
He was in a TV show I'm fond of called Search Party recently. Yeah, I'm gonna look up. I'm sure he's just like popped up in comedies here and there. I guess he's not in very much, at least that I'm super familiar with. And I didn't yeah. I don't see anything here. He doesn't seem to do very much animation after all, to my surprise. This show isn't as silly as I thought. I kind of weirdly got the impression this would be more of a, because whenever it's like a comedian's life as a child memoir thing, it tends to be very blown up and silly. And this could be very somber even at times, frankly.
It's does he do? It's flashbacks to his childhood, but does he do the voices of all of his family members in this?
He's himself and his dad, but I don't think he's his mom or his
Oh,
brother.
he's not the mom. I thought he was doing the mom as well.
It is a very like funny caricature of just like a Midwestern doormat mom.
Yeah, it starts off with Louis in live action, much like Hammerman starts with MC Hammer in live action, actually.
Yeah.
And it's Louis' ghoulish visage talking to some goldfish in a bowl, but he, I mean, only because it's magnified by the bowl. He doesn't look quite that ghoulish in real life, but his
Right.
animation model does look ghoulish. It's
Yeah.
very unflattering.
Well, they're applying his like distinctive adult features to a child, and it just looks fair. And then it's just his straight up adult voice coming out of the child, so it's really
Yeah.
strange.
If this wasn't the worst day of my life, it was definitely in the top 5.
Oh, Louie, we moved you into Tommy's room.
Tommy's room? Well, where'd you put him?
He's in there with you. You get to share. See, we need your room for Grandma. Now, why don't you pop in and say goodnight to her?
The problem was, my parents put her in my room, which meant to get anywhere in the house, you had to go past Grandma's door.
I'm going for it.
Louie? Tell Mom and Dad I'm going in.
He looks hideous. He's like a little troll creature.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really needed to make him look like that. I think we could have gone for something else.
I could see part of it being just Louis' sense of humor. He'd be like, yeah, I was an ugly kid. Make me ugly. Like,
Possibly. Yeah.
yeah.
It does sound weird. To me it sounded like he didn't want to be there. It sounds like he's not putting much effort in. Like,
Right.
A very lackluster performance, I think.
Well, it's like, and he's like whining like a kid in his grown-up voice, and it kind of doesn't. I don't know. Maybe they could have pitched him up a bit, but I don't know if that would have been. I don't know. Something about it doesn't really. It's my recollection. I'm kind of under the impression that people seem to really like this show, which I could see it. It almost reminds me of Hey Arnold in that it's just this very straightforward story of what appears to be a disadvantaged family having grounded issues. Like, this is about his like best friend and crush moving away and him grappling with loneliness and coping by buying a fish. Eventually, like he overfeeds the fish and it grows to be this monstrous creature that talks to him. And I was expecting the whole show to have more of that tone, of him kind of blowing up his imagination and this fish telling him to get a jelly donut. Like, that's what I kind of anticipated. But that's really the only point in the episode that it kind of takes that tone.
Yeah, it's a mingling of different comedies, I guess. It is, as you say, it's very strange. It can be very somber one minute and then a bit more slapstick the next, and then maybe a little surreal. It kind of ties it all together in quite a heartwarming way at the end with the grandma character.
Yeah, it was a cute story for what it's worth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember what happened in this. I couldn't tell you what happened in Hammerman. It's what was the plot of that Hammerman episode? It's something about
his brother like builds a robot that's obsessed with perfection, and this is like thematically tied to MC Hammer's own insecurities as a son because he's like late to dinner. And I can't believe I forgot when we were talking about MC Hammer. I knew the one joke I could make was a steamed hams joke because he burns a roast.
Steamed hammers.
Oh, ye gods, my roast is ruined.
You call them steamed hammers despite the fact that you obviously cannot touch them.
What if I were to animate my own shoes and bring them to life as my own superpower?
Delightfully devilish MC Hammer.
I'm glad we came back around to that.
But
Yeah.
Going back to Louis, the dad character I thought was a great addition to this.
I couldn't understand what he was saying.
I
half the
was just
time.
going to say the same thing.
It's
He
Louis
kinda
Anderson's
mumbles.
obnoxious imitation of his dad, who just trails off into octaves that the microphone can't pick up.
Yeah, which is kind of funny in and of itself. Like, he'll just ramble on, and you'll be like, "What's he saying?" And he just kind of leaves the scene.
Yeah.
But he gets a couple of like really good one-liners as well. There's a bit where he's really angry about people eating his cheesecake. And he's like, "I was saving that for a special occasion. The day you all move out." And then it's implied that he's trying to kill his mother-in-law by giving her like unhealthy food.
Hey, crazy kid. Hey, you could have dented my fender. Irresponsible youth of today. Hey, Louie, wake up. Get in the car. The bad news is your grandmother's come to visit.
Grandma? Well, what's the good news?
There is no good news. You remember your grandmother, don't you? She's a real peach. Of course, she doesn't care much for moi. Hates me. Did I ever tell you that? Like your mother would have met a president of the United States. She blames me for not being able to go visit her daughter in the White House. Other than that, she's a lovely creature. Once you get past the scaly skin, yellow teeth, and the breath that could kill a dinosaur, hey, that explains their extinction, if you think about it. Oh, here we go. Finally.
Thanks for the lift, Dad.
All right, fall in there. Let's get going here.
Oh, jeez. The grandma's like perfectly lovely too. Like I didn't get why everyone hated her so much.
It's really...
I guess that's kind of the point, is that Louis comes around to her when she helps him out of it with his problems. But like she's just acting perfectly pleasant the whole time, and everyone's like, "Get that grandma out of here!"
Yeah. Literally trying to murder her. There was another bit at the end which made me laugh, where there's a bully that's been antagonizing Louis the whole episode, and the grandma at the end says to him, "It's never too late to tell people how you feel about them." And he goes up to the bully and he's like, "Hey, you're a jerk." and there's a bit where he runs across the road and a car comes across, and I thought the car had hit the bully. And
right, me too. That's what they make it look like.
Yeah, but it's like, it's almost as though that was the original intention, but someone came in at the last minute and went, "You can't do that, you got to change it." And there's just a shot of the bully on the other side of the road, just like a really sort of quick like insert, and I feel like someone edited that before it went out.
Well, no, that's not exactly what I meant, Louis.
Well, the bully's being followed like by his dog, and there's something of like the bully making it to the sidewalk, but it looks like the car's gonna hit the dog to me.
Oh.
Like, I don't know what the fuck was going on there.
There was something going on. Something ain't right about that ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Rest in peace, Louis Anderson. I hope you get to eat entire cheesecakes in heaven, wherever you are. This takes us to, I think, my personal favorite of the three, Gravedale High.
Yes.
It's not, I don't think I'd go out of my way to watch it again, but I thought this was pretty cute and entertaining for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, tellingly, it is the one that does not shove its celebrity into your face. It just happens to have a celebrity voice actor.
Well, I think Rick Moranis might be like some kind of passion, because the logo says Rick Moranis's Gravedale High. So I wonder if he was like heavily involved in the development or something.
Oh, maybe. I mean, it is the only one that's like, they pack a lot of jokes into it, and most of them are pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think they use the setting really well. I don't know how you'd stretch it out beyond one episode, because they really do seem to use like every possible joke in this. I don't know if there'd be any left for future episodes. But
to its credit, it has a huge cast that I felt a little suffocated by, and like, introductory episode, you kind of have to. I could see if you take it a little slower, character by character, one or two to focus on at a time, it could actually be pretty well paced for like a short one season thing. Mm-hmm.
I thought all the designs were pretty good in this, though. Like very distinct.
I like the characters in this. You just get like this fun. I like the vampire kid is Vinny Stoker. I thought that was kind of a cute name.
I loved how the vampire kid is like a blend of the Fonz and a Transylvanian accent. Like he's a bit of both. I was really impressed with how they pulled that off. Because that's not an easy thing to do. Like, think of if the Fonz was a vampire, I guess was the direction, and it works.
Okay, now that's enough. Settle down, or we're not going to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Hey, forget it, Peach. We're not supposed to accomplish anything. Why do you think we're in this dead-end class, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you why I'm in this class. I'm here to teach. And as long as I am, you're here to learn. And if you can't handle that, Mr. Stoker, there's the window. Whoa, Teach, hey, don't bust a blood vessel. I was just thinking out loud.
There's like a light gag where that kid wears one into the hospital, and he's like, "If I pick up any human diseases, I'm sending you to my attorney." Like,
Yeah.
I was just very caught off guard by that, and it really endeared me to that character.
I felt like people had put thought into the performances in this. It seemed like
Completely.
everyone was having a good time with it. I don't know who voices the. There's a head mistress called like Mrs. Crone, I think was her name, who really reminded me of Yzma. And I don't know who was voicing her, but that sounded really familiar as well. That was a good performance.
Mm-hmm. You've got an invisible kid who wants to be the class clown, and he does a lot of celebrity impressions, including a recurring Michael Jackson voice that you maybe wouldn't do today.
Yeah, they were really cranking out that Michael Jackson impression at the time, weren't they?
It had mileage, yeah, at the time. He seems like kind of the Poochie of the show, because he's kind of the heart of the series in that he feels invisible and wants to be noticed. So he does all this goofy shtick. So he's kind of halfway the heart of the show and like the big comedic relief with kind of the loudest design and all of his like 90s gear on his invisible body.
Yeah.
I kind of switched back and forth between liking that for him and finding him a bit grating how often we had to sit through his shtick.
Yes, it was a surprising amount. They really wanted to. They thought that was very funny, apparently, but he's probably the least funny character.
A little. It wouldn't surprise me if Rick Moranis was like, this was me as a kid, like kind of a nerd, but just wanted to make people laugh, and that's why there's so much focus on him.
Maybe, yeah. I guess Rick Moranis himself doesn't really get a huge amount of zingers in this, does he? He's kind of he's the only sort of normal, sensible character. Like he's the least funny one, which is weird.
He's endearing, and I guess it's kind of the idea is that he's endearing and that he's the least outlandish, and he still kind of takes care of. It is kind of like the Camp Candy situation where you can't have him. He has to be responsible because he isn't endearing when he's endangering the kids. But that comes at the cost of some of his natural humor and charisma, maybe.
I think so, yeah. I guess he was known for like more slapstick, wacky characters, and this is much more down to earth. Maybe that was what he wanted. Maybe he was fed up of doing, like bungling comic relief type performances. I don't know.
Is the Frankenstein kid supposed to be like an XP of Bart Simpson?
Oh, I didn't think of that, but maybe. He is young.
He's always like, I don't want to see no humans, man. Like, that struck me as just like, what if Bart Simpson was a Frankenstein?
You're right, yeah. Maybe that was the intention. We get our cool surfer dude with Swamp Thing, or whatever his name was.
Right.
Who's, I'm pretty sure he's Michelangelo's voice actor from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That would track. He kind of has a Poochie vibe to him too, in that we spend a ton of time in the classroom and meet everybody, and then like 10 minutes removed after a long introductory rigmarole, he's like, "Sorry, I'm late, coach." Like here to. If it was a sitcom, the audience would be going nuts. Like, oh, he's here! Thank God.
Yeah, he gets the most long, sort of protracted introduction of any character in the series. Who was there's a Medusa girl.
I didn't catch her name, but she seems like there's her she's like kind of she has a crush on Vinnie Stoker, which is cute and all. She wants her diary back. She and the zombie girl are like almost a bit redundant in that they're the two kind of pretty girls that, especially in this like weird pool scene, the animators seem to have a little too much fun with those designs. Nudge, nudge. But I think they differentiate them well enough. The Medusa is kind of like a Valley Girl kind of thing, who I thought there's a bit of her like looking at babies in the human hospital, and I thought she was gonna like turn them to stone and kill them.
Me too. Yeah.
And then the zombie girl has like more of a Southern Belle deal. So they differentiate them well enough. There's nothing wrong with a couple of monster girls. Yeah. Monster girl supremacy. It is really funny when people are just reacting to the monsters and being kind of degrading to them.
Yeah.
There's that great bus driver character, and they're like, "Hey, hurry up. This isn't a funeral yet." And I think his name's like Gravedigger or Grave Robber is the bus driver. He's like, I'm not used to human roads. I have to observe human driving habits. And he pulls up to a stoplight and looks over, and there's a couple in a convertible who make eye contact and scream and dash off. So he just figures that's how you drive, shrugs and goes, ah! And he speeds off through the fucking light.
Yeah. I think he was possibly my favourite character, that bus driver.
He was great.
Voiced by Brock Peters of Bloth fame.
Oh, I thought he had a very distinctive voice. I liked hearing him talk.
Yeah, it was kind of him doing like a Lurch impression, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, yo, up there, Boneyard. Shake a leg. This ain't no funeral. Yet.
Yeah, if we don't get Mr. Schneider to the hospital quick, he might not make it.
I'm not used to driving on human roads, Cleo. I must observe and follow their peculiar habits. Ah!
All over! All over!
All right, pal, open up. Something wrong, officer?
Okay, wise guy. What excuse you have for running that red?
We're going to the hospital.
Holy Toledo! A busload of accident victims! Follow me, I'll give you an escort!
There's like a checklist of a few voices you have to do in every monster thing. You gotta do you sometimes get to Lurch, Peter Lorre, and then what's his name? Boris Karloff, who I think is like I think there's like a racist teacher who doesn't like that Rick Moranis is a human, who's kind of Boris Karloff. Yeah. And there's a nerdy werewolf. No one likes him.
I don't remember the werewolf. No memory.
I don't think the show remembered him. He kind of just pops up.
There is a lot of characters, as we say. I think
there's a lot. Yeah,
you've got to share your screen time with in this.
I'm not even positive we covered them all, but I think we did.
I think the werewolf one is one I cannot remember, but I think we got everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's a good selection. This is definitely the best one that we watched. I think it's the only one that feels like it has legs and it can be a whole series.
Absolutely. I don't see myself going out of my way to watch this again, but if I hypothetically had cable and by some miracle this was hypothetically on, I wouldn't change the channel. At least I wouldn't be in a hurry to.
Yeah, I would give it a go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how interesting Louis Anderson's life was, but I feel like there's only so much material can be mined from that. And MC Hammer, I mean, I can't imagine that gets much better.
No.
You couldn't get much worse, but I can't imagine it get much better either.
What we could do is that, did you know there was a Little Shop of Horrors cartoon, but it's like Little Shop of Horrors babies. They're like all kids kind of, and Audrey too like has a musical number in every episode.
Really? You've made that up?
No, I'm serious.
It
kind of has a similar. I thought of it because of Rick Moranis, but it kind of has a similar art style to Hammerman. Weirdly.
How bizarre.
It's pretty. I think it's pretty bad, but that's all the more reason. Maybe it's just called Little Shop.
Yo, the Little Shop posse is gaining respect, so break out before I put you in check. Now when you come to the shop, what you get and what you see, so just be careful. Getting close to me. Little shop,
Take me to the
little shop.
I wanna go to the
Little shop. Word, Little Shop.
All right, I guess that'll about do it for celebrity endorsements. Tune in next time when we watch Little Roseanne in the episode where she makes racist tweets and then fucking dies.
She dies of knee surgery. Inexplicable. For reference, we had this conversation post-recording. I don't think it made it into an episode. But there was a point in which Tommy explained to me that Roseanne, in the new series Roseanne, after she had been fired, they killed her off during knee surgery, and I laughed for about 10 minutes. But But let me leave you with this question: is there any celebrity cartoons you would have liked to have seen in the 90s that we didn't get?
Oh, that's a good one.
I've got two.
Let's hear it.
Whoopi's Cushions, in which Whoopi Goldberg owns a furniture store, and Trumpland, in which Donald Trump opens a theme park and he has to run it with his dim-witted infant sons.
I think we should make a Chevy Chase cartoon where he plays Clark Griswold, but the shtick is that every episode he's with a different family because they slowly drive him insane, and every episode ends with him murdering them.
I mean, sans the murder, I think actually that might have been quite a good idea.
Like if they just didn't explain that he's with a different family every time.
That'd be fine.
I was making a joke about how just like unhinged the character of Clark Griswold seems sometimes, but now that you mention it, that'd be really funny if it was like just a different show every episode.
I'm surprised we never got a Michael Jackson cartoon.
That's Well, I guess we have like Moonwalker, the movie.
Yeah, I wonder if there was ever a Moonwalker animated series in the running.
And there was a video game, so I actually kind of imagine there would have to be at some point.
I bet he was trying to get himself an animated series at some point. He just kept trying to voice and play people, though, didn't he? And everyone kept saying no.
Yeah, he wanted to be in Sonic, and he was in The Simpsons.
He wanted to be Peter Pan in Hook, I think, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah, that sounds right to me. Well, here's a question: if celebrity endorsements were still huge today, what cartoons would there be?
Trumpland, like I said, and is there any other celebrities who are around today? I'm trying to think of a really controversial one.
Are there any other celebrities around today? No, not really. You got rid of them.
Oh, who's done something terrible lately that I need to make a bad taste joke before we finish. Who?
We really shouldn't be on any shortage. They're all pretty awful.
Who's the worst of them?
I would a Gal Gadot cartoon where all she says is, "and enough champagne to fill the Nile." Kal-El, no.
Oh, you leave her alone. She's trying. Who else is there? There's no one. I can't think of any other celebrities. Who else has been in the news lately? I don't know. Who's famous? Tune in next time for another current affairs discussion, which will be released about a year after it's relevant because of our editing schedule. Farewell!
Come for cartoon discussion, delightful catering, and enough champagne to fill the Nile.